Right now, somewhere in Tanzania, a man is climbing a cliff face with no rope. He has a bundle of smoking grass, clenched in one hand. Above him, a hive the size of a car door. Inside it, 40,000 bees. He keeps climbing. This is not a dare. This is not a ritual. This is breakfast. Your ancestors did this for at least 2 million years. And the craving that drove them up that cliff is still inside you. It fires every time you reach for something sweet. The question is not why humans love sugar. The question is why they loved it enough to die for it. The Hadza are a hunter-gatherer group, one of the last on Earth. They live in northern Tanzania, near Lake Eyasi. Researchers have followed them for decades, and honey is not a treat in their diet. It is the single most calorie-dense food. They collect it all year. A good raid on a large hive can return over 15 pounds of comb. That is roughly 17,000 calories in one climb. To put that in context, a modern person burns about 2,000 calories a day. One hive can feed a family for a week. But the hive does not give it up easily. African honeybees are not the docile kind, kept in backyard boxes. They are aggressive, fast, and they coordinate. A single disturbed colony can deliver over 1,000 stings in under a minute. That is a lethal dose for most humans. The Hadza climb anyway. They use smoke to slow the bees, not stop them. They use hand-cut footholds in rock faces with no safety line. Some hives sit 60, 70 feet above the ground. A fall from that height is almost always fatal. And they do this multiple times a week during honey season. This is not recklessness. This is a risk-reward calculation your body still runs today. Here is what most people miss about ancient nutrition. For most of human prehistory, fat was the scarcest macronutrient on the landscape. Wild game is lean. A wild deer carries a fraction of the fat compared to a farmed animal. Gathered plants give fiber, some carbohydrate, almost no fat. The body needs fat to absorb fat-soluble vitamins. It needs fat to build cell membranes, hormones, brain tissue. An ancient human running low on fat was not just hungry. They were cognitively slower, physically weaker, reproductively compromised. Honey solves this in a way almost nothing else in the wild does. Raw honeycomb is not just sugar. It contains beeswax, propolis, bee larvae, and pollen. The larvae alone are rich in protein and fat. One study of Hadza diet composition found honey contributing up to 20% of total annual calories. In some seasons, that number climbs higher. Researchers mapped what Hadza men actually pursue. Honey ranked above every other food category. Not meat, not tubers, honey. A Hadza man named Onwas was documented making 11 honey raids in a single month. He tracked hives using a bird, the greater honeyguide. This bird leads humans to hives, in exchange for the wax left behind. It is one of the only documented cases of cooperative hunting between a wild bird and a human. The bird finds the hive. The human opens it. The bird eats the wax. Neither can do it as well alone. This partnership is ancient enough that the bird responds to specific Hadza calls, sounds passed down through generations, just to communicate with a wild animal. That is not instinct. That is culture, built around honey. Now consider what that climb actually demanded. The Hadza do not just grab comb and leave. A full raid takes 30 to 90 minutes on the rock face. Smoke must be managed continuously. The comb must be cut carefully to avoid crushing larvae. Everything is done while bees are actively stinging exposed skin. Researchers who accompanied Hadza honey hunters reported receiving dozens of stings themselves just by standing nearby. The hunters received far more, and they kept working. What makes a brain decide that is worth it? The answer goes back further than the Hadza. Archaeological sites in Spain, the Cueva de la Araña, contain an 8,000-year-old rock painting. It shows a human figure on a rope ladder, reaching into a large hive in a cliff face. Bees swarm around them in the image. The figure is reaching deeper in. 8,000 years ago, someone thought this scene was important enough to paint on a cave wall. But the behavior itself is far older. Genetic evidence suggests humans and honeyguides began their partnership at least 1 million years ago. Dental analysis of early Homo fossils shows sugar exposure patterns consistent with regular honey consumption. The craving did not emerge because sugar became available. The craving is why our ancestors went looking for it. Here is the part that reframes everything. The modern brain reads sweet as safe. This is not a cultural association. It is a hardwired survival tag. In environments where food was unpredictable, high-calorie sources needed to be consumed immediately. There was no refrigerator. There was no next week. The brain that hesitated at a honey hive was the brain that lost those calories to a competitor. The brain that felt overwhelming desire, the one that climbed anyway, passed that feeling to its children. You are descended from the climbers, the ones who thought the hive was worth it, the ones who looked at 60 feet of rock face and 10,000 bees and started moving upward. Every time your brain lights up at something sweet, it is running the same ancient calculation. Not weakness, not addiction. A reflex tuned over millions of years to recognize the most valuable thing in the landscape. The Hadza man descends the cliff. His arms are welted from stings. He is carrying 15 pounds of comb. He already knows which hive he will try next week. The bird is already gone, eating wax in the dark of the hive, and somewhere inside your chest. The same signal that sent him up there is still running. You just call it a craving now.